Hello and welcome back to the Black Girl Gamers Online Summit. My name is Supreme Sensei, very well known as Mother, and I am a content creator and media personality. As you most know, I am the hostess with the mostest, so you'll see me on camera very often. And you are tuned in to the Don't I Look Like a Gamer panel. In this panel, we'll be breaking the narrative of what a gamer looks like and exploring how to thrive by incorporating your other passions into your work as a multi-hyphenate. Let's meet our panelists. Bring our panelists on. Welcome back, everyone, to the Don't I Look Like a Gamer panel. Sorry we had some technical difficulties, but we're going to get right back into it with Robin telling us about your passions and, just how you merge them into your business.
Sure. So, for people who are just joining, I'm a former New York City public school teacher, and I was talking about the fact that a lot of my students, especially the ones who are being raised as girls, seem to feel like they have to choose between three different identities: being sociable and kind of pretty, or being a tomboy and still playing games in PE class. And then also my nerdy students who were happy taking a 0 for the day if I just let them peacefully read manga in the bleachers. And then here I was, this was going on 10 years ago, and a lot of my students were Black and brown. This was in Washington Heights. I'm first generation American on my mom's side. I do not look like your typical PE teacher, and I would take off work to go to New York Comic Con. So I started appealing to my students in this way, and then meeting adults who basically said, if I had a PE teacher like you, I might have not hated it so much. And that's what made me start to think that maybe there was something to do in the community to bring pop culture and health education together.
Oh, that's awesome. I would have loved for my PE teacher to be you. Honestly.
Oh,
I mean, I still liked him because I was active, but overall, I think you would have made it extremely better. All right. Jordan, tell us about your passions, both in and outside of geekdom, and how you decided to merge them to form your business.
So for me, I grew up in Los Angeles, and I've been a really big fan of just like fashion and streetwear for a long time. Growing up, like watching brands like Diamond the Hundreds, etc., really inspired me to like create a brand when I was in eighth grade. I didn't start, I guess, like merging the geekdom until maybe I had like a dream about doing a collaboration. But I don't know. I kind of saw me being in this background of fashion and being like a big fan of like anime, watching manga, playing video games. I just was really seeing that there wasn't any, I guess, like intersection between the two like lifestyle cultures. I mean, I'm black, fashionable, grown up in LA, just watching these different brands. I wanted to figure out like, hey, how can I like make cool stuff that isn't necessarily like screaming that they like anime, or even at the time we started the brand, or I'm sorry, starting the collaborations. Find things that look a little bit cooler than like the Hot Topic T-shirt or the things that you would get from Walmart. I think that before, a few years ago when everything started getting popular, it was like tough to find things to really express yourself in like a way that wasn't like super like, hey, I'm a nerd, or hey, I'm one way or another. I wanted to make some things that are a little more ambiguous, and that kind of like what inspired us to do more like anime gaming collaborations and really merge the two for the business.
Okay, yeah. So you kind of jumped into the next question a bit. Like, can you tell us a little bit more exactly how your business, how Hypeland intersects with geekdom? Like, what are some of like your most favorite things that you've done to really show that anime or gaming side of it?
So at our core, we're a streetwear brand, but like I said, we're most known for our collaborations with different anime and games. So for us, like a big part of our DNA now is like finding new IP to work with, working directly with the studios in Japan, whether it be in the United States also too, and like working directly with the anime and manga to work with like marketing, but also like design different collections based around the different IP. Um, yeah, it's been like I said, it's been like an interesting journey. It's been a fun process. It's really just a matter of like figuring out like ways to integrate fashion, but also anime into like that world and make things, just cooler for the everyday anime fan.
Yeah, absolutely. It does make you feel better to wear it, and people can't tease you for it, When we were young, you get teased for wearing a shirt with Naruto on it. Now it's like, yeah, I look cool. I look good. I look good. All right, Robin, tell me. So how does like gaming or anime or any of those geekdom things intersect with your business specifically?
So when I was still a PE teacher, I would take games like Steal the Bacon, and there's probably different names for these games all over the place, but it's the one where everybody gets a number and they put like a bowling pin in the middle of the gym and they call your number and you try to take it before the other team tags you kind of thing. So instead of calling it Steal the Bacon, I would call it the Hunger Games Cornucopia. And then I just started doing a lot of things like that. Instead of giving numbers, everybody got a district. And from there, started making themed workouts for adults and did all sorts of gaming things a lot in different themes. One time we had an entire like Sega old school virtual dance party when everybody was stuck at home that was completely just donation based. You could give whatever you could, if you could, just to join in a big Zoom room and do some dancing and movement at home when we were all stuck there. So those are some of my favorite things that I've done that's like really obviously integrating the both of them together.
Wow. Okay. So I'm curious for both of you, and either one of you can start. We can start with Robin. But when did you decide to take it from these hobbies to a career? Like, when did you say, you know what, like I can make this profitable for myself in the long run? And then how did you know it was going to be successful? I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience who are like, I want to start a business, but they're not sure. So when did you decide, and how did you know it was going to work? We can start with Robin.
I didn't. I did not know it was going to work. And I think I'm a little bit older than Jordan. I'm in my mid-30s. And I did it very, very slowly. I was a PE and health teacher and dance, like I had said. And then when I thought up Geek Girl Strong, I left teaching because I was completely burnt out at about 26. Became a clinical health educator, like in the health clinic setting where I did a lot of family planning, health education. And during that time, I slowly built up my health coaching clientele and then started seeing that the events that I was hosting was popular and that I was starting to run out of space in my schedule to take on the amount of clients that wanted to work with me. And then I went part-time at the clinic because I tried to quit, but they begged me not to leave and kept me part-time, which felt good. And then slowly but surely, I went full-time. So I started Geek Girl Strong in 2015, but I did not go full-time until 2018. And it was super scary, but something that I always reminded myself was that I have this background in so many other things. I can take a chance on this now and always go back. It's not a failure. It's just like ebbs and flows in my career that a lot of people have.
I like that. Yeah, that's definitely some good advice. Jordan, I feel like your story may be a little bit different. I feel like you jumped in real quick with yours.
Yeah, so I feel like I started my brand when I was 13, so it wasn't really like I didn't set out and say, hey, like I want this to be like my full-time job. It was really just like I was, like I said, a big fan of art. I liked anime, I like clothes, and I just wanted to make things for myself also too. I would say I didn't really realize the brand could be successful until I graduated from high school and got into college and started taking it a little bit more seriously and having a little more free time to say, hey, look, I can like dedicate more time to my brand, can spend more time learning about it and like integrating more things. I guess in relation to like to my involvement in anime though with the brand, we didn't really begin getting involved in like collaborations or working with these studios directly until like 2016. But I would say by that point, I had kind of already figured out like, hey, like this is something that I could make a living off of. I didn't think like, hey, look, like I'll be like, as successful or as big as it is today. But it was really like hey, I like this. I was able to sustain myself through college, pay for schooling, take care of like the things I needed on a day-to-day basis, and eventually just kind of end up growing to where it is today. I mean, it's been a blessing, but I don't know. It's always just been like I said, a form of self-expression and just like a natural growth. I never at any point set out and said, hey, look, like this is a business. It's always been like, I like this. I think my customer will like this because I like it. I know my consumers like trust me and they want to see the things that they do from there. Even to this day, like my mom would probably argue that I don't run the business like I should, in the sense of like business is still really more like passion project. Everything is based around trust. Yes, data also too, but you know how that stuff kind of goes. It's really just, like I said, a product of interest that has been blessed enough to like grow to where it is today.
Awesome. I think that's a strong way to say like passion project. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it keeps you kind of grounded in what you're doing and remembering like what the reason behind it. A lot of times you start getting too businessy, then you forget the purpose and it starts to, it gets a little too corporate-y. But I'm happy to hear that both of you are successful in this. And it's ironic because we're here in 2024, and I'm not sure when it happened, and then people argue it happened during, we were locked down, or it happened in 2016. But gaming and anime are definitely more mainstream. People are more open to saying that they watch anime, they play games. And so I'm curious, and I know we have a lot of hot girls in the chat, you know what I'm saying? Like Megan Thee Stallion is doing all these things and showing she's a nerd. How has that affected your business, like what you all have created? And we can start with Jordan.
Obviously as the culture grows, our brand grows, and we get cooler things as a result of it. I think like for me, it's an interesting question because I think for me, like the best years I always say for our business were during the pandemic when people were just now getting into anime and it was like, freshly discovered for people. So for us, it's been nice because like obviously as you gain more anime fans, we get more customers because we work directly with these studios. And then on like I guess like a business back end piece, like there's a lot more to go into like marketing so we can do cooler activations and cooler things because the audience is bigger. I would say on like a brand side, the only thing that I would say that's negative about it getting so big is it's getting a little oversaturated as far as like the types of products and like things not feeling as exclusive. What I really enjoyed about I'll say geekdom or like just this culture being a little more niche was the stuff that was coming out was like really thoughtful and everything was like intentional versus like now where there are a lot of people who are participating in the culture for the dollar. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just it's a different type of audience and product that comes. It kind of keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. On a personal level, it's really nice to see, as someone who's in their mid-30s and grew up when it was not cool for a Black girl to like any of these things. I was a cheerleader, but I was still not one of the cool kids because of my other interests. And overall, I mean, it changed my life because I got to write this Marvel Fitness deck. Just the fact that people are interested and allowed to be interested in these different things these days, I think has made a huge difference for everybody. And now I don't get questioned as much as to why I would have a community that focuses on people who consider themselves to be geeks and why they might need someone to talk to them in their language about their health and their bodies. And the community grew so much over the time that we were all spending at home during the pandemic, kind of like what Jordan said, but just in the fact that people were like, I need to get moving. And there's this sense of community that Geek Girl Strong is bringing that they were really into. And it's been really great in that way.
Yeah, very true. I know, like we call it gatekeeping sometimes, and I think gatekeeping can be a good thing sometimes, to protect the space, but it's still good to shed some light so that people like you all can get, more success. And also, just for everyone who's watching in the ring online, we do have a giveaway happening right now for the Marvel Fitness deck that our lovely Robin has created. So make sure if you can answer the question first, then you'll win. But we're going to wrap up quickly with our last question of the panel. What are some common misconceptions that you face as a gamer or geek when stepping into corporate or business conversations? So when you all sit at the table to say, hey, I have this cool thing I do, let's work. What are some common misconceptions that you face? And we'll start with Robin.
I think for the most part, just the fact that I'm a younger Black woman I'm up against a lot. And then I add on the fact that I work in health and wellness, which now has some really bad connotations when you say the word wellness. People are thinking of really culty things. And then you add on the fact that I'm saying that I'm working with comic book characters and video games. And sometimes I can tell that people have difficulty taking it seriously until they see the kinds of partnerships I've had, until they see the kind of work that I do and how it impacts people. And then it's sort of won people over. When I started Geek Girl Strong, there was like 2 white dudes in California doing similar work. And I've said this before publicly, they would not give me the time of day. They would not talk to me when I wanted advice. And so now to be where I'm at, I get taken a little more seriously, I would say.
That's great. Jordan, what about you?
I would say the largest misconception that I wouldn't say I received personally, but I just think there's a big lack of knowledge and understanding around how large the culture is around like anime games. I feel like when I'm in these like corporate conversations talking to like footwear brands or just these big corporate companies that we want to partner with, they often don't understand the audience or how big of a cult following and dedicated the fans are. So a lot of it is really just me having to educate these people on, one, how big we are, you know, why the space is important, and like you know, trying to really convince them to take a chance on us. I think you know, being so I guess traditionally different from like streetwear or like fashion or things like that, people often like want to stick to the norm and like do things that I guess just make sense and are easily digestible, but you know, they just don't understand the audience, and it's just hard to just, you know, explain to them like, hey, look, like this is huge, this is actually bigger than some of the brands that you're working with, but if you don't know or don't have somebody advocating for you on the inside that's explaining it, you know, it's often like lost in translation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll add in here, I think one of the other things that people usually assume as gamers or geeks, like that we don't know how to be in a business or like a corporate setting, which is strange. Like, yeah, most of the time I wouldn't like to wear a suit, but if you need me to wear the bust down, I'll wear the bust down. You know, I got you. Like, I can get dressed up. You know, I'm not always in sweats and tees. I am always, but if you needed me to, I can adapt. And I think that that's something that I have always tried to showcase in the business world is like, we can adapt. We're very good at mending and blending into different, you know, environments. So before we wrap up, I do want to just send another reminder to everyone that you can train with the new Marvel Fitness deck that Robin created, okay? But you also get 30% off right now if you head over to chroniclebooks.com and you use promo code BGGOS. All right, like I said, you're not gonna get that any other time better than whatever, so you might as well get it now. And I definitely want to say thank you so much to the panelists today, Jordan and Robin, and I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.